So, I have some good news for you. Yesterday, I ran a live LinkedIn coaching call where I taught the audience how to build a multi six figure business. I'm talking about 20, 30, 40K per month business just using LinkedIn organically. Now, this wasn't your typical training where I gave a bunch of strategy and said, okay, go and execute on this. I taught them how to do this while only working 20 to 30 hours per week. I intentionally did this because, look, I want you to have a business where you're generating a lot of cash flow, but you also have a life. After 4 p.m., you can close your computer, go and enjoy your life. And the reason I emphasize that so much in this training is because this is the life I've built for myself. Right now, I'm filming this video from Medellin, Colombia. I'm going to be traveling around the world soon. And I've built my business in this way because I want my life to be fun. I want to do cool things. I want to have new experiences. Now, whether you want to travel or not, I know you want that time for yourself. You don't want to just be glued to a desk working, doing things, slaving away to just try and get clients. You want to have a business that generates copious amounts of cash flow for you, thousands and thousands of dollars every single week. And then at the same time, you have the freedom to do whatever you'd like. So that is exactly what I taught in this training. So I want you to watch it, take notes, and apply. So without any further ado, enjoy. On that note, let's officially get started in this call. So I'm super excited to really bring this all to you today. As you all know, the lesson for today of what I'm going to be teaching is how to really get your business to a multi six-figure level as quickly as possible this year in 2025. However, with that being said, I really want to do this with the emphasis of only investing about 20 to 30 hours per week into this. So, as I said, really the expectation, the goal of what I want to teach you today is how to build a $20,000 to $30,000 per month business while only working 20 to 30 hours per week, right? Because it's, in my opinion, it's pretty easy to overwork yourself, try and figure this all out and, work 60 hours per week, 70 hours per week and make money. And then you lose your health and your time and your energy. But I want to be able to teach you today how to do this without having to overwork yourself and do this in a very, very efficient way. So we'll dive into all of this today. So super excited to dive into this entire lesson with you. So a couple of things that I want to go over before we jump right in is number one, for those of you, I know some of you, this might be a second or third training of mine you've come to. I don't know, I've been hosting trainings for, who knows, like over a couple of years now. I host these monthly trainings, but just so you guys can get a quick idea of who I am. My name is Sara Masadi. I'm actually from Toronto, Canada. I travel a lot around the world, so you probably may see that in my content, but I am a LinkedIn consultant. Specifically, what I do is I help business owners get clients from LinkedIn, right? So I help solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, anyone who sells a high ticket service, learn how to get clients from LinkedIn. I've been doing this for, how long has it been? Well, I ran a marketing agency doing this for people for about 3 years, and I've now been doing this for over almost 5 years. So 8 years I've been doing this. So if there's one thing I know, it's LinkedIn, it's client acquisition, and really doing this in a way that makes things as easy as possible. So that's really my goal for you to teach you all today is getting clients on LinkedIn, building a multi six-figure business, but doing it, like I said, in a way where you have a great life. Right? I'm a firm believer in building a business that enhances your life, right? I don't want you overstressing. I want you to have a business that generates a large amount of capital. You work with great people, and then at the same time, you have a great life with your business that works harmoniously together. Now, if you've ever attended any of my trainings, you'll know that I always have a special request. And the way that the special request works is if you watch this video to the end, I want you all to stick around with me to the very end of this training. So if you do, I'm going to give you, hold on, I'm going to mute you all here. So if you stick around to the end of this training, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a free recording of one of my private coaching calls. So this right here is my private coaching doc with my clients. So these are the people who have paid thousands of dollars to be a part of my coaching program. As you can see, these were pretty much all the lessons we had. Well, it's kind of like freezing up here. So these were all the lessons we had in 2024. And if you stick with me to the end and you watch this training with me to the end, I'm going to give you this specific lesson I hosted on October 22nd, which was how to use LinkedIn Reels in your client acquisition process. So LinkedIn Reels have become a huge thing on LinkedIn, how to use them, how to actually get clients from them. So they're a very, very important new element to LinkedIn. It's a full lesson. Again, this was only exclusive to my private coaching clients, and I will give it to you if you stick around to the end. So that's all I ask, is you stick around with me to the very end, and I will give you this specific lesson right here. Again, I'm not sure why it's all freezing up here, but that's pretty much the deal. Okay. So with that, now that we've gotten all the groundwork out of the way, let's officially get started. Oh, and one more thing. If you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. That's not a problem. I will leave about 10, 15 minutes at the end of this call for questions. So you can put them in the chat now or whenever as we're going through, and I will most likely be able to get to them at the end of the lesson. So it'll be pretty easy for you. We'll have time is what I'm saying with all of this. Okay, so let's officially dive in. Okay, so the first thing that we need to really focus on here is how do you reach a goal of 20K? Because, 20K per month might seem like an elusive number. Maybe you've never even hit 10K per month. Maybe you've never even hit 5K per month with your business. Or maybe you're currently working in a corporate job right now and you're thinking, all right, like, how do I, build this kind of wealth for myself? Well, it's a pretty easy equation to figure it out from the beginning, right? The equation at the beginning is, okay, let's say you want to hit 20K, right? That's your goal for the month. And let's say your price point on average is $5,000, right? Well, then mathematically, 5,000 times 4 clients is equal to $20,000. So this is, first of all of you should be selling a high ticket package or something of this range, right? Even $5,000 isn't that much. I know people who sell $10,000 packages, $20,000 packages, right? So $5,000 is very normal, especially in this space. So if you're selling your services at $100 an hour or $200 an hour, just talk to me later. We'll have to fix that for you. But truthfully, you should be selling at this level, right? So if you break it down like this, now $20,000 is not some big giant number. What it is 4 clients a month, right? Which if you break that down, that's 1 client per week, right? That's not a lot. 1 client per week. You just need 1 person to say yes to you per week. Now that we know this, all right, how does that happen? How do you get 4 people buying from you? How do you get someone paying you $5,000 a week, right? Somebody new paying you $5,000 a week. Well, it all boils down to sales calls, right? Remember this, all this activity that we're doing on LinkedIn, start to finish, is all just about booking calls. Like all this, whether you're posting content, you're DMing, webinars, whatever it is, at the end of the day, your goal here should be to book qualified calls with people who are actually interested in your services. I can't stress this enough, because if you lose sight of this, and sadly a lot of people do, right? I'll talk to people on the phone and they'll say to me, oh, I get like 30,000 views on my content every week. I have like 20,000 followers. I have this, I have that, but no one's buying from me. It's because they lost sight of what the goal was, right? The goal of all this activity that we're doing on LinkedIn is to book qualified calls, right? I've had posts that have technically completely tanked, right? I've had posts where maybe I've had posts that gotten like 100 views, which may seem terrible, but then from that post, I ended up booking, 2 calls, and then somebody bought, and all of a sudden I generated, $5,000-$6,000 from it. So again, you don't look at vanity metrics like likes, comments, views. Look at yourself, look at what you're doing as a business, right? Everything we're doing on LinkedIn is a business. We're operating a business. The likes, followers, comments, all that vanity stuff, that's just a byproduct of it. Don't get lost in it, right? It's kind of like if you're a musician, right? Yes, you become famous. Yes, you get fans, but your actual real goal is to make great music, right? It's the same thing with what we're doing right now. So just don't get lost in this whole idea. Okay. Now, this is where I differ from a lot of other, business coaches and all of this stuff. I don't believe that your goal should be to book as many calls as possible. I actually think this is a wrong way of thinking. I talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm booking 20 calls a week, right? And then my second question to them is, all right, great, you're booking 20 calls a week. How many of those calls are you actually closing? How many of those calls are you actually converting into paying clients? And they'll tell me, oh yeah, I booked 20 calls this week. I closed 2. I'm like, that's a 10% close rate. That's terrible, right? No one wants, because think about it. Every sales call you take was probably an hour. So it took you 20 hours to close 2 calls, right? it's not worth your time at that point. And trust me, it might seem like if you're getting started, oh, I would do that. I would grind it out. Trust me, 20 calls a week multiplied by 4, that's 80 calls a month. You don't want to be taking 80 calls a month, and that's just your sales calls. Imagine, the actual coaching calls you take on top of that. You'll lose all your time, right? So one thing you have to really keep in mind is how many qualified calls could I book? What I would rather for all of you is increase your close rate, right? I would rather at the end of the day, you close at 35%, you close at even 25%, right? Because what does that mean? Let's say, let's even be conservative here and say you close at 25%. That means 1 out of every, actually 4 sales, typo there, turns into a buyer, right? 1 out of every 4 sales calls turns into a buyer. That's not bad, right? I'm willing to take that, right? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you rather take 4 calls, close 1? Right? That's where you want to be able to build your business to, right? I'll tell you honestly, like when I get on calls, even now, right? I'm taking less calls on a weekly basis now, but my income has gone up over the last 6 months. Reason being is because I'm only taking calls with qualified buyers. When I get on the phone with someone, it almost just becomes a formality, right? I'll get on the phone with them and then I'll say to them, I'll just ask them, I'll be like, okay, what made you want to get on this call? And they'll say, look, I've seen your content. I've been following you for a while. I really want to get started. I'm just curious to know what your coaching looks like. Give me the details, all that. Give them the details. Some people say, yep. And then boom, we move forward. And that's what I want for you, right? And I'm going to show you this in just a second, right? How do you do this, all of this? But just before I go forward, is this making sense to everyone, right? Is it like, just give me maybe yes, thumbs up, something. Okay, I see some. Okay, Scott, thanks. I see the thumbs up. All right, good stuff. Tony, thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, so that's the idea. So with that being said, just to summarize this, we're not trying to shoot for the moon and have 30, 40 calls a week on the board. We're trying to get 4, 5, 6 qualified calls of people who are legitimately interested to want to work with you, and you're closing at a high level, right? So how does that happen? How do you get these qualified calls on the board? Now, I'll tell you one thing, and remember these words forever. I've never met someone who has gotten rich from just posting content on LinkedIn, right? It's not going to happen, right? It's very hard. You might become an influencer. I've met lots of people who have become famous influencers, 100,000 followers on LinkedIn from just posting content. But posting content on LinkedIn is not enough. In fact, just posting content and sending DMs to book calls is not enough, right? A lot of you will think, oh, if I post a lot of content, I engage with the people who like my posts, I'll be able to convert at a high level. False. Remember this. The average buyer must consume about 40 minutes of your content before they get into a purchasing mode. 40 minutes. So if you look at it like this, right, just right off the bat, that means, look, the average LinkedIn post is about roughly a minute read, like a 60-second read. They're dopamine hits, right? That means the average viewer would need to see 40 of your posts. 40. And that means if you were posting every single day, 7 days a week, it would take over a month. It would take almost a month and a half before someone would be ready to buy from you. And that's assuming that they see your content every day. That's assuming they log into LinkedIn and see your content every day for 40 days straight, which is probably not even going to be the case. So it might even take 2, 3, 4 months before someone's in purchasing mode. This is why I say creating content alone on LinkedIn is not going to get you buyers. So then, all right, what is the solution? It's about going deep, right? It is about going deep with your buyers. Now, I want you to take a look at this chart here. You have to understand something about marketing and client acquisition in general. There is 3 phases your buyers will go through. There's the top of the funnel, which is awareness, right? There's the middle of the funnel, which is education. And then there's the bottom of the funnel, which is conversion. So I'll explain to you exactly what I mean here. So top of the funnel, the content that you post on LinkedIn should be about you. Remember this, no one is going to listen to you or take advice from you if they don't know you, right? It's just the reality. It's like, imagine somebody comes up to you on the street today. Let's say you go out for a coffee after this call. Somebody comes up to you and says, I want you to invest in this stock. This stock is going to triple tomorrow. I guarantee it's going to triple tomorrow. You're probably not going to take that person's advice. Even if you wake up the next morning and realize that they were right. You're like, oh my God, it did triple. They were right. You're not going to regret it because you're going to say, I didn't know that person. I didn't know if I could trust them. Like that was just some random person giving advice. It's the same thing on LinkedIn. The reason most people struggle on LinkedIn is because they're giving advice with all their LinkedIn content. Your LinkedIn content should be about you. selling people on you. Who are you? Talk about your experiences, talk about your opinions, talk about your stories, right? You have to understand we're playing a game on LinkedIn and you're playing as your character. For example, this is the character of Sarah Masadi. This is me, right? And what I'm trying to do is get people to like me. I'm genuinely getting people to look at me and say, yeah, I can relate to that guy. And people can relate from so many different angles, right? Look at me, for example. I'm Canadian. I travel the world. I love to scuba dive, right? I've invested in tons and tons of coaching programs. I talk about my lessons. I talk about my experiences, right? There's so many angles that I put out about myself that, somebody's going to resonate with something, right? And that's my goal. I encourage you after this call, go look at my LinkedIn content. I encourage you, go look at my LinkedIn content after this call. You'll see there's barely any education in there. You don't see me talking about strategies or anything like that. It's just me talking about my life, things I've done, what I've been up to. A couple of weeks ago, I made a post about how I was scuba diving in Galapagos Islands with sharks, all that kind of stuff. People loved it, right? Because again, I was getting them to trust me. Now, okay, once you have established trust, right, then you can start educating, right? But you have to understand the sequence of this. So, for example, again, like I said, I'm posting content, I'm doing all this kind of stuff on a regular basis. And hang on, can everyone hear me all right? I just got a notification that my internet connection is unstable. Or is it coming through all right? All good? All right, are we back? Should be. Am I good now? Okay, flows for a second. We're back now. Okay, good. All right, good. Sorry. All right, so here we go. Let's continue. So, with that being said, right? Then comes the middle of the funnel. Now, this is where your buyers actually come to you. So I'll give you a perfect real life example right now. All of you are in my middle of funnel, right? Right now, I'm not talking about my life. Right now, I'm actually educating, right? Because there was a point where you saw my content, you engaged with me at some point, you're like, okay, well, this guy Saram, he seems pretty interesting. Maybe maybe I'll stick around. Then I invited you to this webinar. Now I'm educating. Now I'm going deeper. Now I'm actually adding more value, right? This is what you need to be doing too. I'm not saying you necessarily need to run webinars, right? You could give training videos, whatever it is, but this is my deeper form of content, right? This is an opportunity to actually learn from me. Because again, I know if I posted LinkedIn content teaching this, you'd probably just scroll right by it. But again, now I have you all in a room. I scheduled this call for an hour. You're able to all learn from me. It becomes extremely beneficial, right? So this is the same idea. Get them in the middle of the funnel. Then after the middle of the funnel is where you go to the bottom of the funnel, which is actual conversions, booking calls, collecting cash, all of this. And I'll tell you why this works. Because it becomes a series of yeses, right? Look at it like this. What's step one? Step one is probably added you as a connection, right? Okay, that's a yes. Okay, person seems interesting, maybe worth my time. I'll accept the connection request. All good. One, done. Number two, you see my content. Okay, find it interesting, entertaining, little, controversial. I agree with some opinions. Maybe I don't agree with some opinions, whatever. That's another yes. Number three, oh, he invited me to this free training. Oh, he gave me this, or he has this webinar coming up, or he has this coaching call. Oh, he has this going on. Okay, cool. I'll engage further, right? You'll come to that. That's another yes. Then it just becomes a series of yeses to the point where, oh, he's offering a free call where we can speak together, where we can talk. Okay, you know what? I'm willing to listen in. I'm willing to give that a chance. Okay, great. Oh, his program seems awesome. Great. Let's talk. I'm open to this. Let's work together. Right? Done, deal, everything like that. So this is really, really, really what I'm trying to emphasize with you. So in a nutshell, then, what is the goal of my LinkedIn content? When I publish content on LinkedIn, right, my goal is to get them to like the character of Sarim and get them to want to learn more from me. Again, come to these webinars, all of this stuff. So with this being said, right, I want you to look at your business and see, are you doing this? If you're not, this is one of the first things I would absolutely do, right? Make sure that you actually have this all set up and good to go. So any questions so far before I move forward? All good? Raises, do you have a new course about your program? Yeah, I'll talk about the new program and everything at the end of the call, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've definitely updated the program for the 2025 algorithms and all of that. Great question. Okay, so now that we've gone over the traditional stuff, or hold on, I see one more thing in the chat here. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Now that we've gone over the theoretical part, I'm actually going to show you real life examples of all this, right? How I do this, what does this work like, all of this kind of stuff. So give me an example here. So give me a second here. Just going to pull some things out and we'll be all good to go. All right. Okay. I want you to take a look at I want you to take a look at this post right here. I want you to see exactly what I did here. Okay. So take a look here. So this is a post I made, yesterday, a couple days ago, something like that. I'll read it to you. I want you to watch it and I want you to see exactly how I was able to do this. So I said, I generated $10,000 from a single LinkedIn post. People ask me, how do I do this for myself? My response, you don't. There's a specific content formula that leads to posts converting at this level. In this video, I explain exactly what it is. So just watch this video with me. It's about less than 2 minutes. I generated $10,000 from a single LinkedIn post. Now, when I told people about this, their first question to me was, tell me the formula. How do I do this for myself? How do I generate 10K from a single post? And I told them, well, look, it wasn't just this post that made it happen. It was the consistency of posts I've been doing for the last year, months, and the reason this all happened is because, look, every time I publish content on LinkedIn, I pay attention to how my audience responds to it. Are my buyers receptive? Does this topic work, right? Is this style of writing, is this style of content creation what gets buyers actually interacting with me? And then I consistently improved on it. And then yes, because of that, one day I make a post and then bang, 2 people buy, sold at $5,000, 10K, done. It was fantastic, right? And it happens more and more frequently now because of the content I'm creating, because I've paid attention to how my audience responds. So when people ask me, okay, well, how do I hit that 10K month or 10K day for myself? I say, well, pay attention to your content. Look at what your buyers are responding to. And once you start to do that and you start to get better with it, maybe you'll have a 10K day once a month. Then all of a sudden you keep improving on it. You get that 10K day twice a month, 3 times a month. And then before you know it, you're hitting those 30, 40, 50K months, and you're not really putting in that much work because you know what kind of content to create. You know the activities that actually bring you buyers. So this is what I'm telling you to do. So to help you with all of that, this Thursday, January 23rd at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be hosting a free LinkedIn coaching call open to the public where I'm going to teach you how to consistently make $10,000 to $30,000 per month using LinkedIn organically. I'm going to teach you how to find your buyers, what kind of content you should be creating. I'm going to give it all away. So make sure to attend this training. If you want to get more details about this, just like this post right here, hit the like button and I'll send it right away. Done. Okay. So you saw this right here yourself. Look, I'll even show you the numbers on this are pretty low, right? Only 500 impressions, 10 likes, nothing crazy, right? But what was I able to do from this post? I obviously told a story, right? About how I generated 10K from a single LinkedIn post. Great, grabbed attention, taught that, shared my story, all that. But I invited everyone to the webinar via this. So from my side, it might look like a post that didn't generate a lot of traction, but in reality, it did. I was able to invite 10 people, right? 10 people like this post. Great. 10 people just got invited to the webinar. They're probably here. There are people in this room right now from this post, right? They saw this post, they liked it, they came in, they're now attending the webinar. And then it just becomes a numbers game from that point onwards, right? Okay, how many times can I do this? And this is what I'm really trying to emphasize to you. So I'll even show you another post here. Come look at this one, right? I have 6 unconventional rules that I use to build my dream life, right? When I was 22, I set out on a journey to build a life and business that I love. Today, I'm 30 and can confidently say I've achieved everything I wanted when I started. Unconventional rules I use to build my dream life. Again, one key kind of thing with content to remember, try not to tell people what to do. Remember this, people hate to be told what to do, but they love to hear about how you did it, right? This is just the rule, right? So if you're ever thinking of teaching something or educating in some way, just talk about your own experience rather than saying, go do this, go do that. Very important distinction. So look what I said. I said, unconventional rules I use to build my life. Not for everyone. Number 1, only take advice from those ahead of you. Everybody loves to give advice, but not everyone is worthy of giving advice. When I started to only listen to people ahead of me, my results skyrocketed. Number 2, build a business that enhances your lifestyle. In 2020, I decided I wanted location freedom. Today, my business gives me the freedom to have control of my own schedule and location. Again, one thing I want you to pay attention to with this piece of content, I am not talking about LinkedIn right now, right? LinkedIn hasn't come into the equation. So I want you to pay attention about how I weave this all in together because this plays a huge role into everything, right? I say, number 3, Travel like your life depends on it. I lived 5 years in Colombia. I learned Spanish. Travel opens your mind to new ways of thinking. I make it an obligation to travel every 2 months, right? Number four, build your wealth, not your ego. Buying material objects has never impressed me. I use my income for experiences and investments. Makes me way happier when I do that. Number five, develop the skill of client acquisition. Knowing how to generate an income for yourself will save your life. It's a skill you must learn and develop. Number six, LinkedIn is the only thing you need to have a six-figure business. Why? LinkedIn has 1 billion users. People purchase their services here faster than any other platform. You just need to learn how to get them, right? For that reason, I'm hosting a free 1-hour LinkedIn coaching call this Thursday, right? Here's the topic, what you need to know. Boom. To attend this event, just like this post. Do you see how I am moving people through the funnel, right? This is super important, right? What did I do? I had brand awareness at the top of the funnel. What did I do? I got them to learn about the character of Sarim. They got to learn, cool, these are my values. I value travel. I value investments. I do not value material objects, right? I value investing in experiences, right? They learned a lot about the character of me, which was number one, great. Then I moved them to the middle of the funnel, right? I hosted this webinar. Again, I'm not saying you always need to run webinars. There's other things you can do, right? I have other trainings, other things I pop up, all of this stuff that I share. Both work really well, but the goal is that I'm moving the audience to the middle of the funnel. This is really, 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 really important to make sure of the distinction, right? Moving them. I'm not saying, oh, if you want to book a call with me. The biggest mistake I see with a lot of people on LinkedIn, and this is why they struggle, and hopefully this is not you, is that they'll create a piece of content, even if the content's great, they'll spend too much time educating, and then their call to action at the end is book a one-on-one call with me. Right? Book a one-on-one call with me and we'll see if I can help you out. That's insane. That's like going on a first date with someone and asking them to marry you right after, right? Chance it could happen, just a very low chance it could happen, right? You got to go through the motions. You got to take them through to the middle of the funnel. So this is why I'm emphasizing this so much to you. So one thing I highly recommend you all do is decide what you want your character to be. Right? Who do you want your character to be on LinkedIn? And these are important things you got to be willing, you got to understand what are you willing to share about yourself and what are you not willing to share about yourself, right? So one thing I encourage my clients to do, and I actually encourage all of you to do as well, is I tell them to create a document about your life, right? Create a genuine document about your life, the identity of your name, right? How did you grow up? Did you grow up rich? Did you grow up middle class? Did you grow up lower class? Did you travel a lot? What were your insecurities growing up? Right? What are your thoughts now? What was like major life events that you overcame? Write these things all down on your on a Google Doc, right? Like actually do this. Make this a legitimate exercise for yourself, right? And I'm telling you, you'll see very quickly how people like you'll see that, oh, I can develop an audience for myself doing this, right? Because people will actually connect to you, right? So I'll even show you mine. I have no problem sharing mine. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. Content. Content. Okay. So give me 1 second here. All right. So this is what I'm suggesting here, right? So take a look at mine, right? I just want you to see this. This actually gives me, this is an actual document that I created about myself that gives me a huge idea of like what's going on, right? So, and this allows me to create a lot of content. So where did I grow up? I was actually born in Dublin, Ireland. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, child of, 2 immigrant parents. I have 2 siblings. Anything special about my background? Never the smartest kid, never the dumbest kid, always like a B+ student, always that entrepreneurial drive. Okay, this is what my, university, I went to university, did the whole education thing, even got a master's degree, really didn't benefit me too much, right? Again, I'm sharing things. These are and then I'm not saying I share this document publicly, but this actually gives me a lot of ideas to like work with, right? Even things like, I talk about, have controversial opinions, right? I have certain controversial opinions that I genuinely believe. I believe working a 9-to-5 office job is modern day slavery, right? Spending all your time going to and from an office gives you 0 freedoms, right? I think, running an e-commerce business is actually not a good business to start with. Way too much startup cost, right? I don't feel like, I believe life is meant to be lived, not survived. I think living in another country from the one you grew up in is a very important thing, right? I believe that the middle class won't exist in 10 years. These are things, and it's, what the craziest part is that this kind of content is what gets me the most amount of buyers. Things that have nothing to do with what I'm actually selling, right? It's about putting my identity out there. And then I said, I go into the whole education process, right? So again, this is something genuinely, I really, really, really recommend. I really recommend this is something you execute on, right? Create a document about your life. And this is the kind of content you should be creating. Now, I'm going to actually give you a formula to follow here, right? Of how much content should you be creating? What should the content be like? How do you do this? All this. Because I did say that at the beginning of this training that I want you to emphasize on efficiency, right? So how do you make this work, right? How do you make this work? And I'll literally give you the formula right now of what you need to be doing. You should, and write this down if you'd like, you should be publishing 5 times per week, right? You should be publishing content 5 times per week on LinkedIn. What time should you post that? You should probably be posting at the ideal time zone of your buyers, right? So for me, majority of my clients are based in the US. So I post around 8:30 a.m. New York time. I like that time. I enjoy posting at that time because it allows me to pretty much conquer the world at that point, right? I know people in the UK can still see me, even people in the Middle East, like Dubai, could probably see me, and the West Coast are probably on their phones scrolling in bed at that point. So 8:30 works really good for me, right? To post it. Now, again, just think about where your buyers are. If you're based in the UK, well, then post 8:30 a.m. UK time, right? If you're on the West Coast, then post 8:30 a.m. West Coast time, right? I'm just working with where I'm from, right? Like from Toronto, Canada. Toronto is, Eastern time zone. That's where I work. So number one, post 5 times per week, keep it at 8:30 in the morning. Now, 4 out of 5 of your posts on LinkedIn should have some kind of call to action. Very important to know that distinction. 4 out of 5 of your posts should have some kind of call to action. And I'll tell you what does not count as a call to action. Follow me for more content like this. That is not a call to action, right? Another one that does not count. Book a call. That's a weak call to action. You should be pushing your audience, or guiding them rather, to the next step, something where they can get even more value from you, right? 4 out of 5 your posts. Now, from there, that's when you actually start distributing it. Then everything just becomes a numbers game, right? This is something I really want to emphasize to you. So let's say you follow my formula right now. Let's say you follow my entire formula of what I said. You post 5 times per week, right? 4 out of 5 of your posts have some have a call to action. Great. Sounds good. Everything all good. Now, let's say even if you're working with 1,000 followers on LinkedIn, you're just getting started, right? Let's say of the 4 posts that you publish, let's say for each post, maybe 2 people request whatever free training you're giving out. So nothing. I'm talking about very low numbers here, right? 2 people. That's 8. That's 8 people who have requested the training, right? Whatever you're giving out, whatever you're offering. Now, of the 8 people that request the training, great. You are probably going to get half of them who actually consume it. So, okay, so now we're down to 4. 4 people who actually consume it, right? Of the 4 that actually consume it, let's say half actually book a call with you. Great. 2 people actually book a call with you. Great. Okay. Of the 2 people that book a call, bang, you close 1 client, right? That's how you do it. And these are me working with legitimately the most conservative numbers. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, like, what are the chances that I'm actually able to convert someone like at a 50% rate, right? You were talking about 25% earlier. Fair enough, right? But if you follow this formula, by the time these 2 people get on the call with you, they're so warm, they just want to work with you, right? It's no longer you're booking random cold calls. This is one thing I recommend as well. Do not beat around the bush when you offer calls to people. Don't say, oh, if you'd like to get on the call and chat, right? We can learn a little bit about your situation, what's going on, all of that kind of stuff. Then they walk in with the mindset, okay, well, this is a casual chat. And then when you offer your services, it almost comes off in a weird way to them because that was never the intention in the first place. When I offer a call to someone, I say, hey, look, I really genuinely feel I can help you out. I can get you to that 20, 30K per month that you're looking for. Why don't we get on a call, learn more about your situation, and see if there's an opportunity for us to work together? I say that to people, right? I don't say, hey, let's get on a chat and just like get to know each other, right? One is deceptive, the other one's direct. So by the time I get these people on the call, they know what they're walking into, right? Again, this is why I'm saying I'd rather have 4 or 5 calls on the board with people who are genuinely interested in working with me than, 20 calls with people who just think this is a coffee chat and then I weasel my way to making an offer, right? These are 2 major distinctions I make, right? Get them on the phone and that's it. And if you just follow this formula, it becomes very easy, right? Now, let's say you create content. And I want to show you how this becomes a 20 to 30 hour a week activity, right? Let's say you spend 1 day creating content, right? Let's say 3 to 4 hours, let's say even 4 hours a day creating content. And that's a 1 day thing, right? In terms of content, I always tell my clients this, do not create content every day. That's a painful, very stressful way to create content. What you want to do is block off a day in your calendar, don't take any calls, and just create all your content for the week on that day. Right? That way, because trust me, the brain works differently. Like when you need to close on sales calls, your brain needs to be activated in one way. When you need to create content, you have to have your brain in a creative way, right? So what I like to do, and I recommend to everyone, just pick one day of the week, create all your content. Don't take a single call that day, right? Like you should probably even close your internet browser or whatever. Just open up a document and get all your content done. So that's about a 4-hour activity. Great, done, right? Now your content's all done for the week. Then the rest of the week, you focus on publishing, distributing the content. Let's say that's a 2-hour activity, right? Now, let's say you book 5 calls in a week, right? 5 calls in a week. That's each call, sales call is roughly an hour, right? That's 5 hours worth of calls you have. Now, let's say you close at a 20, 30%. Let's say 2 out of the 5 calls you close, right? So now you have 2 new clients you've onboarded. Let's say you have to give those clients 2 hours each, right? So now you're putting 4 hours a week in, right? So all of a sudden, that's 4 plus 4, that's 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 2, 15. That's 15 hours a week, right? And you're running a very successful business. You're generating $5,000, $10,000 a week doing this, right? If you feel like you are overworking yourself, if you feel like you're working more and you're not getting enough buyers, I'm telling you, you're doing something incorrectly, right? I have clients who legitimately work 20 hours a week with 1,000 followers or less who are making 10, 20K per month. It's just because they're doing the right activities. So it's very, 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 very important, right? So just I really, really want to emphasize that. Susan, you said I find video editing. I mean, if video editing is really time consuming, you could find a VA, someone in like the Philippines to edit for like $3, $4 an hour for you, right? Like there's also other ways you can go about this so that you don't have to put your time. Like again, as you go along with this, as you scale up your business, you can hire, you can delegate, right? There's things you can start doing to make your life much easier as well. So just something to keep in mind with it. So to really wrap this up, because I want to leave an ample amount of time for questions with everything here. The purpose and the goal here of what you should be doing, and I encourage you all to do this moving forward. As soon as you finish this call, implement your strategy doing this, is number one, I want you to build the character, the identity of yourself on LinkedIn. Who are you? What are your values? What are your stories? Before you even create the content, write that all out on a document, right? Write it on pen and paper, document, however you prefer to do it, right? Who is the identity? And one thing I genuinely recommend is you have to stand for something and stand against something, right? Stand for something, stand against something. Do not be a neutral person. Nobody gravitates to neutrality, right? Nobody gravitates to neutrality, right? You have to stand for something. For example, I created a post a couple of months ago. I'll never forget this post. It really blew up. And I said, I talked about how I would never let my kids work a 9-to-5 job. I'll teach them how to make money for themselves. I'll teach them how to start a business. I would not let them work a corporate job. I wrote that. The amount of controversial responses I got from that was insane. People were like, who are you to tell your kids what to do? You know, it's fine if they go to an office every day. Like, it was nuts. But I'll tell you exactly what happened as well. I had people reach out to me and say, I'm in a current office job right now, and I can't agree with you more. I really want to start my own business. Can you let me know, like, you know, can you help me out with that? I think I ended up booking like 6 calls from that post. 2 people bought. It was like a, 10, 15K day. I can't remember. It was something like that from a post. Because why? I wasn't neutral. I didn't say like, oh, I wasn't trying to appease to both sides. I gave my opinion. So don't be afraid to be polarizing. In fact, I encourage you to be polarizing, right? It's okay if people dislike you on social media, especially LinkedIn, right? And people are pretty politically correct on LinkedIn. It's not like YouTube or Instagram. Honestly, on my YouTube channel, people are a lot more direct. But on LinkedIn, you're fine. Genuinely, if that's something you're worried about. Okay. That's the idea. Build a character, advertise yourself. Goal from the content, get them to consume more. Remember, they need to consume about 40 minutes worth of your content before they get into buying mode, right? Once they get into buying mode, once they've consumed 40 minutes, then you get them on the calls, right? And again, remember, the goal is not filling up your calendar with like 20, 30 calls a week. The goal is filling up your calendar with 5, 6 calls a week, having fantastic leads and closing at an extremely high rate. So there you go. The full strategy laid out for you to build that dream business and lifestyle together. Now, look, I want you to take the information you just learned in this video and apply it right now. Go out and do it, because I'm telling you, it's absolutely possible. Now, obviously, because the training was only 1 hour, I couldn't teach every single little detail that needs to be taught in order for you to grow your business to this level. So for that reason, I right now am opening up my coaching program for more enrollments. Now, without going into too much detail, the whole purpose of working with me and having me as your coach is me being your guide, your mentor, the person teaching you what you need to be doing. I'm going to be watching you. I'm going to be helping you. I'm going to be guiding you along the way. I'm not just going to give you a bunch of information and say, go run with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be the person who's going to watch you while you're doing your work, while you're executing out there and saying, okay, well, hey, your content's getting better. Let's improve it. Or, hey, your conversion, let's get this tightened up. I'm going to be the person in the ring with you, right? And that's the kind of coach I am. Now, with that being said, because I work like that, I can only take on so many clients, because when I work with someone, I genuinely give them my all. I try to work with them to the point where they're really achieving their goals, they're living their dreams, all of that. So if you are seriously right now looking for a coach, somebody to guide you to those big months, to building a successful multi-six-figure business, going beyond that, then I could be the person for you. So if you want to learn more about my coaching program, what it's like working with me, well, I have my calendar link in the description below. You can just click on that link, book a call with me, and we can talk together and see where you're at right now, where you want to go. We can even build out a game plan on the call together. And if it's the right fit, we can work together too. So make sure to book that call right now. And I'm telling you, my spots fill up very quickly. So if the link doesn't work, it's probably because I've been filled up and I can't take on any more clients. So take advantage of that right now. All right, thanks. Looking forward to seeing you soon. See you in the next video. Bye.